A lot of people tend to forget how nice we really have it in the West, how comfortable things are, especially after the whole COVID situation happened and the economy went downhill, inflation's gone up, the job market's kind of shaky, houses are really expensive. I mean, it seems to be just one thing after another. And that's not just here in the US, but that's across the West. And even more, in fact, the inflation issue, it's rising across the whole world. And we've got it bad in certain areas, but compared to other places in the world, we really don't have it that bad, comparatively speaking. And one country I'm going to compare us to is the South Sudan, which happens to be the poorest country on the planet. It is nestled inside Africa. Here's a look at South Sudan. And you've got Ethiopia to the east, the Central African Republic to the west, and you have Sudan to the north, and Uganda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo is bordering South Sudan as well. It's also not too far from Somalia. But yeah, in South Sudan, it is the poorest country in the world. Their average income is less than $1,000 a year. In fact, I think it's even less than $500 per year. So I've got a video clip here. This is from Indigo Traveler. It's a pretty good video. I've been watching his stuff recently, and a matter of fact, I thought I was already subscribed to him. I'm gonna give him a subscription because his channel is definitely worth subscribing to. He travels all over the world. A lot of places he travels involving the third world, a lot of places that people wouldn't even think to go travel. He just goes and he shows on the ground what it's really like. And in this video, he titled it Overwhelming 24 Hours in South Sudan, Harsh Reality. So let's give this a watch and follow along.
Yeah, they had lights on them, but everything's been ripped out of them and stolen to sell. People really need money.
The hardware was ripped out of the street lights because they were selling the metal out of it.
Planes and helicopters lining the sides of the runway.
Damn.
This compound was actually hit by rockets. I've been told that
Hit by
there's quite a bit of
rockets.
crime around here, mainly robbery and things like that. This girl here is wearing rubber gloves for shoes. Big house that
Damn.
had bullet holes in the roof had been bombed. We're actually below the water
Obviously,
line
there was
now,
a
and
war
they're building
situation. South
dikes,
Sudan was in a
big
civil
mud
war
piles
recently.
on the sides of the floodwaters to stop it coming in.
I mean, it's like a real hell on earth.
They are protecting in case of any criminality.
How many people live in this room?
10 people.
10 people. But this
Wow.
toilet facility here can account
You think there's
for
electricity
up to
here?
50 to 100 people.
Internet?
How does
Smartphones?
the sewage work?
There's no sewage.
Plumbing?
See this dike
Nope.
here. Sometimes people come and try to break it.
It's awful.
Flooding into flood people's homes.
Oh, yeah.
Are
See,
there
they had to
days
dam up
where
that
you're
reservoir.
unable to buy food?
Depending on the market, sometimes he's not able to sell any one of them, and then from that day he can live without food.
Nice to meet you.
Wow.
So we're here with a lady, Jan Nasir. She was in a car crash. You can see they've used wood here and fabric to wrap it up. 2 breaks.
So they do have cars.
You can see the power lines.
Unfortunately,
Would you
hopefully
like
she's
one day
okay.
to go to America? You can see they're plaiting the fish. There's actually venomous snakes in these waters. This lady
Yikes.
was bitten by a snake. Now
Ooh.
she has to go to the hospital. South Sudan, the world's
Damn, dude,
newest
what a
country,
nightmare.
only gaining independence in 2011. And after gaining that independence,
2011.
plummeted into civil war.
Yeah, that was after their independence.
Ethnic-based violence.
400,000 died. 4 million were displaced.
That
4
civil war has
million
now led to the
displaced.
near collapse of the country.
Although fighting has died down in some areas of the country. it
See, here in the
continues-
West, man, in the comfortable U.S., we really don't understand how dire a civil war can really be. Imagine millions of people. Imagine you having to be forced away from your home, from where you live. And I know we like to think that's not possible. And the Civil War, like in the 1800s, I mean, it wouldn't look that way today, which I would tend to agree with. It would probably be more regionally fought or possibly fought between states. I don't even know. It would be an absolute mess. But just imagine that. Imagine everything's going well, and then all of a sudden the power starts intermittently going out, and all of a sudden there's just like random gunfire happening here and there, and you literally have to flee for your life and just bring what little that you can carry with your own 2 arms. I mean, it's horrific, man.
Rage on in others. Hunger and malnutrition rife throughout the country. South Sudan is
I mean, fortunately, we have fertile land that we can actually, grow more food than we can eat.
The most violent place in the world for aid workers.
with humanitarians constantly being targeted. Tribal violence occurs every single day. Flooding has absolutely ravaged the country.
The people who live here have never
They do have a dry season, though, and I'll go over that in a little bit.
Vast areas lie underwater.
But yeah,
I
when
wanted
it
to go
rains,
to
it
South
pours.
Sudan for a long time. This trip has been 2 years in the making.
Wow.
The world's youngest country is tearing itself apart.
Yep, the world's youngest country, 2011.
So I can live and die here like this.
Rapid descent into civil war has
Maybe it was just a part of Sudan.
Much the US or its allies can do.
Yikes. You see all those flies?
Country, fighting each other.
This is where it gets very dangerous.
Wild, man.
Hi, Sam. How are you? How are you? You're good?
Dude, talk about an exciting way to make a living. But also nightmarish, though, man. Dude's taking a real risk.
Been to you in South Sudan. That flight that you just saw, one of the most crazy flights of my life. There was lightning bolts right next to the plane.
No
You could
shit.
see the lightning bolts just outside the window. There was huge turbulence, and then we.
I
had
always
to
thought it
land
was a
on
desert
mud
out there.
Runways. We made 3 stops.
Apparently
on the way
not.
From Juba to here, which normally should be about an hour or so flight, but it took 3 hours. We had to stop in these
Oh, it's
random
green.
airports.
Okay.
We were sinking in to the mud on landing and takeoff. The pilot
Whoa.
was even saying himself he didn't like it. There's
Wow.
destroyed planes and helicopters lining the sides of the runway. These are actually shipping containers here, and this is where I'm going to be staying while I'm here in the north. This base has guards all around it. You can hear in
Damn.
the background, there's a helicopter flying overhead. There's lots of military activity around here. This compound was actually
He's gonna be
hit by
staying on a
rockets
freaking
few
full-on
years
military
ago. They went
installation.
right into the containers. South Sudan has recently experienced the worst flooding it has in
Wow.
60 years. We're
Holy
actually
shit.
below the waterline now, and they're building dikes, big mud piles on the sides of the floodwaters to stop it coming into this compound and the rest of the camp. Majority of the
Oh,
people
yeah.
are living in makeshift camps that are actually protected because they're
Damn,
fearful
look at
of
all that.
being killed. What sadly has been tearing apart South Sudan for many years now has been tribal violence. Many of the people living here have fled where they live out in other regions. They come here for fear of their own lives. But even here, yesterday, somebody was killed. Another
Yeah,
thing
from what
that's
I
out to get
understood, like
people-
in Africa, the reason why there's a lot of warring happening and it's been ongoing for so long was because back during the colonization era, where they were actually drawing borders around countries and actually forming countries, that they were drawing borders right through the middle of tribal lands, right across regions where one tribe claims that it belonged to them, but they drew border lines, not just of the countries, but of different states and different regions, and it overlapped certain territory that tribes or villages or groups of people that they actually felt that they had ownership over. And apparently that really drove a big wedge into a lot of the reason why, Africa fights as much as it does. I mean, am I right about that? I think that I read that somewhere at some point, some point in my life, that's why there's so much conflict that's going on in Africa, and it seems like it's never going to end because it's just a constant like territorial dispute. I'm sure there's disputes for resources and shit like that too. But let me know if I'm wrong in the comments. But I think I read that somewhere.
I've been working with in South Sudan came down with malaria, was rushed to the hospital. 2 other people here were taken down with malaria, and so you can see this environment is absolutely hostile. Everything's really out to get you.
Yeah, dude, malaria be fucking horrific, man. I mean, you got an actual like decent % chance of dying from it, unless you've got like the right meds or vaccines or whatever. There's a malaria vaccine, I think, right? I think there is.
That's the engine sitting on the ground. A crazy environment, just so barren, so many humanitarian vehicles. So we're basically on protected land by piles of dirt, essentially. This is just this wasteland kind of place, just with huge
Dirt
gaps
hell.
where people
Fucking
flee
mud, dude.
violence. It's not a nice environment.
No.
This is actually
And you know those trucks
planned
ain't
by the
bulletproof.
Ghanaian military. Flooding has just absolutely destroyed this place, and everybody is living below the water lines because of.
I'd like
the
to see what
mud
that looks like
dikes
during the
that
dry season,
engineers
though.
are making
Like, is
all
it
over the place.
completely
So
dry?
Everybody's constantly fighting this uphill battle of staying above water.
I hope he mentions exactly why they're fighting. I wonder if it's, like I said, if it's some territorial dispute. Maybe 2 different religious groups. I mean, it could be a number of things.
So we've come to Bentiu town center here. You can see that big house that had bullet holes in the roof.
Giant
had
hole
been
in the
bombed.
roof.
That's actually from the Civil War.
Yo,
so back
tank.
in 2014. This place was rife with armed conflict,
World of tanks.
fighting on these streets.
Shout
Most
out.
of the buildings were destroyed. We went
Wow.
past supermarkets that had been burnt down. Most of South Sudan does not have paved roads. That's why it takes so long to get anywhere. There's only 200 to 300 kilometers of paved roads in the entire country. When it rains, it turns to
Good
mud, so
grief,
we're just
man.
stranded in random places. This is extreme living here. Okay,
I mean,
so
that's
I've
the
met
case
a
all over
young man
Africa,
called
I think.
Salema.
Suleiman, yes, my name is Suleiman.
Salema, and how old are you, Salema?
I'm 19.
19.
19.
Young man.
Yes.
Right. And how is life?
Average
here? Life
age,
is
I'm
good,
sure, is
no-
below
no
30.
It's good, no problem.
Yes. Last year we have a flood, but now it's no problem.
Where do you live? In a camp?
No, I'm living here in Bentiu town.
But most people live in camps, right?
Yes, yes.
Were you here during the crisis and the war?
Yeah, I was here,
What was that like?
but
Hell.
now it is Alhamdulillah, we get a peace.
Fucking
Is
hell
it
on earth,
easy
man.
to find food and things here, or do some people have problem finding food?
Some people have a problem, but the problem will never be permanent. It will be temporary. inshallah.
Okay. You're a very positive man.
Yes, yes.
So this is your shop.
Yes, this is my shop. I'm working here.
Do you get much business here?
Yes, I'm working here something like 3 years. Spent 3 years working here. I get something like $100.
$100 a month?
Yes.
It's pretty good, right?
Yes.
This is
Yeah, I think that is actually pretty good.
6'9".
Yes,
You
he's
like
American rapper. Yeah.
You like him?
Yeah, I like him. I like to watch the videos on YouTube even.
Okay. Do you
Well, here,
watch a lot of
let me just pause here for a second. I've actually got the number. You know, since it was mentioned, let me just take a quick look here and see cost of living. So average monthly. Wait, is that South Sudan? Yeah, South Sudan. Oh wait, hold on. No, yeah, that'd be in USD. Hold on, maybe I was in the wrong spot. I thought I had. Wait, yeah, this is it. Here we go. So rank number 1, the average GDP per capita $455. So yeah, it's not even $500. And dude said he was making a couple $100 a month. That's not bad. It's actually really good. That's way above average if that figure is correct.
Like to buy shirts with 6'9" on them here?
6ix9ine, Drake's,
Okay.
even Justin Bieber. Chris Brown. I used to listen.
You like Justin
yes,
Bieber?
Yes.
Okay, man. Nice.
Yes.
So you really like American culture?
Yes, I really like.
Would you like one day to go to America?
I want to be, but there's no process.
No process.
Yes.
Too hard.
Yes.
Thank you for your time, Salima. Have a
See
good
you.
one.
Thank you.
Cheers. Okay, so we're here with David, and you're.
Yeah, I don't know the details, but apparently there's something in the news with regard to the Trump administration trying to deport South Sudanese people who illegally immigrated over here. I'm assuming from the southern border, and I guess it's tied up in the courts or something like that. Apparently there's something ongoing in the news with regard to that.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And so, have you lived in Bentiu?
But it's a conflict country, so I don't know if it's like I'm sure South Sudan's on some like do not travel list or something. And I know that makes it especially difficult for people to immigrate into the U.S. if they're coming from like one of those conflict countries, I believe.
Yes, it is hard now because we cannot access the route that can supply Bentiu.
Okay.
The food crisis.
You're going to have to help me with the pronunciation of your name again. Your name?
Your name, Joy Gangalwak.
Okay.
Yeah, it's something like 60% of people in South Sudan, if they don't have humanitarian assistance, that they would die, that they would starve to death. It's like the majority of the country requires aid from outside countries, or else they will starve to death.
Basically, you're cut off from the rest of the world here. Is that right?
Everything that is we are selling here comes through air, and it's very expensive.
Oh, you know, those guys seen all kinds of shit.
Thank you. Shukran.
Because they're probably, what, in their 40s, maybe? Maybe 30s, 40s.
Okay, so we've come along this long road here.
Oh, man.
And it just ends up at this, reinforced with sandbags, dike here, and this is more of what we're seeing. This is surrounding the town, but you can see this used to be a road. You can see the power lines. The flooding's just completely engulfed this whole area. People are walking through these floodwaters, sometimes for
That's
days
if the
at a
power lines
time,
even,
to collect
if they even
wood
work,
that they'll
they
bring
even
and
have
make
power.
charcoal, and they'll sell it. That's how people make money here. You can see a lot
What was
of
it,
the
charcoal?
buildings flooded over there in the distance. And a lot of the buildings we went past, they were actually fled during the war. My guide here, David, he had to abandon his house during the war. He's never been able to return since, so thousands of houses were burnt down and completely destroyed, and now it just looks like flat grass. So there's actually venomous snakes in these waters, and sometimes they bite people, and it can be very dangerous. So this lady was bitten by a snake 1 month ago. She's carried on working in the
This was
water, and now it's
uploaded
become
2 years ago, by the way.
increasingly infected. Now she has to go to the hospital, which is in this town.
Thought I'd
even though
mention that.
she's come from
Not sure how
across
much
the
things have
water in
changed.
another flooded village. So you can just see the amount of hardship in this area is, there's nothing I can really say. So people will collect piles of wood here, and they'll walk out. You can make out in the distance people walking miles and miles out through the floodwaters to just find wood and bring it back, try and sell it. So you can see there's a man walking through the water here looking for fish.
I mean, the skies are all blue now.
Your name?
At least they're getting a break from the rain.
Oh, nice to meet you. I'm Nick.
Name, huh?
Nick.
Nick.
Yeah.
Hey.
You're from Bentiu?
Bantu.
Okay. So
yeah, dude's name is Nick.
They can get approximately 1,500 South Sudanese pound. Can take multiple hours to pick this up, and they'll come to the shores here and sell it. And then we're going to go and see where they burn it and make it into
What do they call that? A
charcoal.
bushel? Is that
So
what
here's
that's
the
called?
charcoal here,
Pile
and
of
they bag
sticks.
it up. This will sell for 5,000 South Sudanese pound. Is business?
Oh yeah, that's
good? Is it
charcoal.
enough to survive?
If you manage to sell two, this way you can be able to buy 1 kg of sorghum or maize. And if the price also went high, you need also
Sorghum?
to sell more than that.
Are there days where you're unable to buy food?
Depending on the market, sometimes he's not able to sell any one of them, and then from that day he can live without food.
It's highly dependent on the business if you can eat dinner every day.
Yeah, depend on the market and the business also.
Shukran. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So this is some fish that they've caught in the floodwaters there. Then they'll hang it up here, wait for it to dry, and then they plait it. You can see.
Would
they're
you try it?
plaiting the fish, and then they'll sell it.
Oh yeah, it looked like they braided it. Smoking a pipe. I can dig that. I got a pipe. A tobacco pipe. Not a weed pipe. I got a tobacco pipe. No wacky tobacco. I'm surprised they didn't gut that plane up. Scrap metal. I'm sure you could probably use those panels for like roofing or something. Well, I guess it's on the base though, right? I think so.
So they sleep in here.
Yeah, they're sleeping here.
And what are they protecting from?
They are protecting in case of any criminality or whatever happening, they can be able to see and go and rescue.
So we've arrived at the POC camp. POC means
all water.
Citizens, and you can see the floodwaters. You see this dike here. Sometimes people come and try to break it, let the flooding.
They're out there swimming.
Flood people's homes, destroy people's homes.
With the venomous
You
snakes.
Keep an eye, make sure nobody does that. Also, any possible intruders, because majority of these people that live here are fleeing from untold
Like refugees.
violence from.
Oh man, they had that dude
Not too
pixelated
far
out.
From here is armed fighting regularly. So you can just see
I'm like
for miles.
special forces
houses
guy.
and shacks. 120,000 people in this camp specifically, but there's many camps like
GC,
this.
it's
The
Jason
majority of
Bourne.
People that live in this city live in camps similar to this.
I wonder if he's just stuck here at the base or if he's actually going to get out and see some more. Or at the refugee camp or whatever they're calling it.
So you can see this stagnant water here.
Yikes.
Obviously, that's a great area for
Sure
mosquitoes
that smells
to
lovely.
breed. This causes a lot of diseases.
Yep, malaria.
Where people shower here, and then the water goes straight out the back there. But there's no shower, right? You just take a bucket and pour over yourself. Yeah. So this toilet facility here can account for up to 50 to 100 people. You see these scattered around the camp, but just complete lack of facilities for these people. David, how does the sewage work?
There's no sewage.
No sewage.
When it is full, they just close it and then they dig another one.
So
There's
they
no
just
sewage,
bury it?
Yes.
And then it's right next to this water, so the sewage will run off into this water, right?
Yeah, this one is for only shower, and
Yeah.
then the water from this one, and then can get into the
Yeah.
drainage here.
So this is what happens when the toilets fill up. They put tape around it. You're not allowed to use it because it's completely filled with sewage. Then they'll bury it, and then they'll move the frame and dig new holes. So they're just constantly moving the toilets here. I've been told that there's quite a bit of crime around here, mainly robbery and things like that. You can see this girl here is wearing rubber gloves for shoes.
Good grief.
Just going to go in this house here behind the kids. You can see as soon as the camera cuts out.
But is she really wearing that for
Right
shoes,
up
or is she
close.
just goofing off?
Pretty funny.
I mean, she probably is actually using them as shoes, which is really sad.
Hello. How many people live in this room, David?
10 people.
10 people. So we're here with a lady, Yan Nasir. She was trying to flee this area to go to northern Sudan, and she was in a car crash. She went to the hospital to get it treated. You can see they've used wood here and fabric to wrap it up. I can see the bone through the leg.
What? No.
2 breaks.
And this one is one.
Oh, so femur, tibular, and fibula.
Yeah.
I wish you good luck.
Good grief. Not only is she stuck in the poorest country in the world, now she's got a broken leg on top of that.
And did they lose any family members?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. People lost their life when they were coming.
And I've noticed it's mainly women and children here. Are there men?
During the conflict, many men.
I was going to say, I'm sure a lot of them died during the conflict.
These women's husbands are fighting right now.
Yeah, some
Kind of the way it goes.
fighting, others also choose to go and work outside. They are suffering a lot. Others lost their husband and they have nowhere to go to take their children. So they are here just only to survive.
Here's the homemade football here. So it's just stuffed with fabric and plastic, and then they kick it around and have a good time, right? Ready? Your name?
My name is Matu.
Matu.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Matu.
I'm Nick. Manchester United? Yeah. So you can see these power poles here. They had lights on them, but everything's been ripped out of them and stolen to sell. People really need money here, so they'll do whatever it takes. So this boat here goes and
Man, they're out in the middle of
goods that
nowhere.
Can come as far as Juba, and they bring the goods to the camp here. And the entrance you can see to the camp, but the dike is again stopping all this water. What kind of goods are they bringing here, David? Food mainly?
Food, yeah, mainly food, yes.
Okay. David, there was a murder yesterday, right?
Yes.
You knew that
Whoa.
the guy was?
Yes, we heard about it yesterday. Yeah.
Is that common?
Yes, it's normally common here.
And how does that make you feel?
It's not easy because as humanitarian workers, and you are there to support the community.
Yeah,
and
you're to do the right thing.
We targeted, that is not easy.
Right.
And this also hindering the support that we are giving.
South Sudan's actually the most dangerous place in the world to work as an aid worker. Humanitarians are
Oh, wow.
often targeted. All these guys will go
Why?
as far as they can
What
on
the hell,
boat
man?
So they can get to the places where the foods and things come from. So not only are these people running from violence, and then often they're targeted and they're too scared to even leave the camp because they're scared of being attacked. They also are starving and they're cut off from the rest of the country. So the supplies struggle to make it here. It's just an absolute horrible nightmare situation for these people to be in. So here's the charcoal here that we saw
Good
earlier. So
grief.
it'll come in here, and this is how it's sold as well in these smaller bags. And the guy who's selling it just said, this is how we survive. 200 South Sudanese pounds for one bag. We're having a look at another house here. There's a child on the floor here. What's wrong with him?
He's sick and he's not talking.
He's
Very
sick?
Yeah.
And so he just
Wow.
lies on the floor.
He just lie on the floor like this. He's disabled, cannot walk also.
So he doesn't move from this
Doesn't
position?
move from place to place. He doesn't move.
Is it a girl or a boy?
She's a girl.
How old?
9 years.
9 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
And has it been like this the entire life?
6 years on this situation.
So
6
what is your
years?
plan for the child here?
There's no way of taking her to treatment because there's no money, there's no whatever.
Fuck,
Came here
man.
During the 2013 conflict, she's not able to go back to.
She's not?
Yeah.
Ever?
Ever. Very difficult for them to go back. Because
What
They're in the
kind
middle
of
of
things are
nowhere.
happening in where she comes from?
Her belongings were burned and everything was looted. And minerals.
I wonder if they're like religious refugees or something. I wonder what the reason would be for them not to be able to go to, I don't know, whatever urban area, city, whatever.
Both the houses, the first house we went into, there was a woman you saw with
maybe it's still war torn out there. I don't know.
It was infected. And then the second house that you see we just come into, there was a 9-year-old girl on the floor who is disabled, and they can't afford to do anything with her, so she's just literally laying in the dirt with flies all over her and sores and cuts everywhere. So if that's 2 houses we've chosen, we've seen 2 stories like that. And this particular camp, 120,000. Can you imagine the scale?
120,000.
And that's just one area of South Sudan. This kind of suffering is spread all throughout the country. You can't comprehend.
Damn.
They got solar here.
Okay, so that would be why they're not heading into an urban area. Apparently the whole fucking country is this way. Horrible.
Kids and these families have been through so much trauma.
Look like they were Christians.
And the dancing and singing and things, it's really positive for them, right? It helps them release some of the negative energy.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I saw the cross up there on the building.
We're going to meet a young mother called Regina and her beautiful baby. Unfortunately, her child is severely malnourished. To put it simply, they put a sort of measuring tape.
I'm guessing most of the country is probably Muslim.
Varying degrees of malnourishment. If you're in the green on the band, the baby's okay. If you're in the yellow, then it's a bit more dangerous, but if you're in the red, then it's severely malnourished, and unfortunately, Regina's child is severely malnourished, so let's go meet Regina.
So what, if you're in the green, you don't get as much food
Regina,
than if you're in like the yellow or red?
Your baby is sadly severely malnourished. What kind of feelings does that bring up when you see your child is very sick?
Very sad. She's not comfortable when the child is not feeling well.
Without these RUTF, what would happen?
He's cute.
The child can suffer a lot.
Child can suffer.
Can suffer a lot. This one is very important because there is an ingredient inside this food, and when it gives to the child can improve easily.
How long have you lived in the camp for?
I wonder if they actually like cut her hair that way, or if her hair's just,
and why
she's got a hairline back that far.
Fighting?
Yes. His uncle was killed. Yeah.
By gun.
By gun, yes. When that incident happened, she has nothing to say, just to come and settle here to begin a new life because everything was left behind. Property were looted, they come and settle here. When they were there, they depend on what they were doing by their own. But when they came to this IDP camp, they depend entirely on humanitarian support.
Right, so in their old house, they looked after themselves, but here, as soon as they were ripped out of their environment against their will, then they had to be reliant on UNICEF to supply this RUTF.
Yeah.
And the food and the shelter and everything.
I mean, they said that civil war broke out in like 2014.
A message
I mean, this has been over
about what's happening
over 10
in
years,
South Sudan
like 9 years as of this video.
They have really been staying here for long.
So I mean, I bet a lot of these kids were just born into the situation
get out of this place.
in these humanitarian camps.
Thank you very much. Shukran. Regina and her family were living a normal life, and then violence erupted. They had to flee, and they were destined to, a life at least for the foreseeable future in this camp. And, they used to look after themselves entirely, and now that's not possible, and they're completely reliant on the help of UNICEF supplying them with the RUTF. I'm going to leave a link below if you would like to donate and help save
there you
lives
go.
Like Regina's beautiful.
You donate if you can.
These children are in dire need, and without UNICEF supplying them this lifeline, doesn't really bear thinking about what would happen. I mean
even like UNICEF, it's
what happens to
they only have so much resources and time.
Doesn't end well. So just $10.
Especially as inflation's getting high. I'm sure people even in the West are donating less because
you can see the baby just
they're not making as much.
Food, and it's going to bring back to life. I've talked to doctors and I've talked to mothers who have seen these RUTF ready-to-use therapeutic food, which is basically it's a food and a medicine combined, designed to bring a child from death's door back to being a young, thriving, healthy baby again. So,
good.
Just with $10, the impact that we can make together. You watching this at home, it would be beautiful. Many of us will spend that on a coffee and a sandwich. If you are able, obviously if you don't have the means, but if you have the means and you want to help out, just know that your dollar can save lives here.
Just as long as the majority of it goes to the cause, man. A lot of these nonprofits, they only send like 5% of what you donate to the actual source. You gotta be careful with certain nonprofits. I'm not throwing any flack at this at all. I mean, he knows what he's talking about. I don't. I'm just saying, like, there's been a history of certain nonprofits that, you know, like the vast majority of the money goes to quote unquote overhead. You know, 6-figure salaries from people running these nonprofits. I'm just saying that, you know, with some nonprofits, you got to be careful.
Seems like everything's out to get you in this place, you know. Out of 120,000 houses, that the 2 we went into had immeasurable suffering happening inside of them. And I'm not being paid at all to promote the work here and fundraise for this life-changing work. It's just something that I personally believe is very important. It needs a light shining on it. Because
yeah, I believe him. He's been all over the place.
South Sudan's
that dude travels everywhere.
Country, even the capital city. You imagine you get out to these
I mean, he's a YouTuber. I'm sure he's monetizing this video.
Suffering, really. It's sad to put it that way, but it's a lot of suffering, and you've heard it firsthand from the people. The vast majority of people are sifting through.
Hopefully, he's taking a percentage of his monetization and he's putting it into that nonprofit.
So yeah, $10 buys 30 of these. I'll see you in the next video from more from South Sudan. This country is like nothing I've ever seen. It's a very unique place, that's for sure, and it's quite undocumented. I appreciate you watching. In case I don't.
Yeah, man, wild. But yeah, I'll link this video. Indigo Traveler. I mean, he's got lots and lots of stuff. Let's see, how many videos is he up to now? 409 videos. And I mean, you could just go and you can just see all these places that he's been to. And I mean, he's got it as recently as a month ago. So, I mean, he's still posting fairly regularly. See, that was South Sudan. Obviously, he did more than one video in the area. Actually, he did 4 of them. 4 of them in the area. He went to Ghana, Mozambique, Jamaica, up there, Argentina. He's been all over the place, man. But, I mean, see, I already have videos that's showing up that I've already watched. I've seen that one in Honduras, Venezuela. But yeah, he's got some good content. I thought I was subscribed to him, but apparently I wasn't. I don't know. Sometimes I watch a lot of stuff and I don't even think to subscribe. That's probably why most YouTubers are like, be sure you subscribe. And they say it in every single video. You know, as annoying as it gets, I kind of understand why. But anyway, I've got this one here. I don't know if I'll do the whole thing. I probably should have started with this one because I think this one actually goes over more like general information with regard to the country, whereas he was a lot more localized. I mean, he was filming just pretty much like just one specific area. But anyway, we'll give this one a watch, and I'll go over a little bit of numbers and whatnot, like cost of living, and break down some information on that. And we'll see what this video brings us. This is on Travel Eclipse, by the way.
To over 12 million people.
They actually don't have a big subscriber base, less than 2,000. That's about how many I got as of right now.
In this video, I will show you South Sudan like never before. From its historical
all right, let's do it. Yeah, I definitely should have started with this one.
Life expectancy, and even their war on religion.
There you go. See, I was wondering that.
South Sudan, with its capital being Juba, was actually part of Sudan.
I wonder if it's like Muslims versus Christians, maybe.
Now, South Sudan has a predominantly African population
with
cultures that mainly follow Christian or animist beliefs. This population had a long history of conflict with Sudan's mostly Muslim and Arab northern government.
TIA.
Let's rewind a bit to the 15th, 19th centuries when
let's go.
Sudan's current ethnic groups settled.
Drop some history lessons.
In 1820, Muhammad Ali, the viceroy of Egypt under the Ottoman Empire, invaded the Sudan region and exploited southern Sudan for slaves. By the late 19th century, Sudan was under British-Egyptian rule. The northern part quickly accepted British rule, but the south weren't too happy about being slaves, so they resisted.
I would imagine.
Development disparity between the north, focused on modernization, and the south, where efforts were concentrated on maintaining order. After Sudan gained independence in 1956, various governments struggled to gain general acceptance, particularly in the diverse political landscape of the south. Early conflicts arose over attempts to impose Islamic law and culture throughout the country, which many in the south opposed. This discontent escalated into a massive civil war from.
Well, and that's another problem. Like, there's how many tribes? Or I don't know if I want to use the word tribes, but tribes or groups of people or villages or regions where people have been localized for probably millennia. I mean, there's probably thousands of them across the entire continent. And when you divide up these regions into these larger countries that encompass all of them together, I mean, like these regions, they've probably been warring against each other since the dawn of time, and they're not going to get along anytime soon. Plus, with more modern religions coming onto the scene, like Christianity and even Islam, I mean, modern as in like over the last couple of millennia, I mean, it just probably just adds fuel to the fire. But just in the South Sudan region, there was probably multiple regions of groups of people who all probably wanted to have control over the region, and nobody was going to stand down. And this is kind of the result of what they end up with.
1972. The Addis Ababa Agreement in 1972 temporarily ended the conflict, but this only calmed things for a while. Inevitably, widespread fighting resumed in the next decade, leading to the Second Civil War from 1983 to 2005.
Good grief,
Finally,
man.
South Sudan declared its independence.
What is that, a 22-year war? Shit.
With an agreement ending warfare and outlined new measures for power
Free at
sharing
last!
and wealth
The
distribution.
Republic of South Sudan.
South Sudan is a landlocked country in Africa, which means it is surrounded by land
Landlocked.
and has no sea access.
Yep, no ocean.
There are 45 landlocked countries worldwide, 17 of which are in Africa.
Oh, no shit.
If we evaluate the country with a scope, South Sudan can be found in
Yeah, it doesn't put you in a good position because it's kind of hard to trade with the rest of the world when you don't have a coastline.
The northern and central regions are characterized.
You know, it's like just a little like FYI, kind of useless facts, but all 50 states in the U.S., they have water access of one way or another, whether if it's a major river or if it's the oceans or if it's the Great Lakes. I mean, every state has access. And that's why, like, if you look down in the Gulf states, like when you look at Alabama or Mississippi, you know, how the little sliver of Alabama and Mississippi protrude, or like it goes all the way down to the Gulf, even though it's like a little strip. Well, that's the reason. That way that individual state could have access to a large body of water, so they could potentially trade with countries outside of the U.S.
by plains,
as far as I know.
gradually transforming into southern highlands along the border shared with Uganda.
So that's probably a large reason why South Sudan is in such a
significant
shitty
geographical
situation.
feature is the White Nile, which flows northward from the uplands of Central Africa, defining the
Wait, they said
country's
that was the
landscape.
Nile?
Dominating the
I mean,
central
that's-
area is the Sud, an
That's a
expansive
thoroughfare of
swampy
water.
region spanning over 100,000 square kilometers, sustained by the waters of
The White Nile.
and identified by the presence of
I
floating
mean, that is the
vegetation
Nile,
in
though,
marine
right?
Navigation.
Looks like
South
it.
Sudan boasts a land area of 248,777 square meters.
Meters.
South Sudan's population
Oh, that
has
said
a
miles.
median age of 18.6. By comparison, Monaco, the world's most senior country, has a median age of
18.6? It's not even
In
20
South
years
Sudan,
old?
Almost 62% of
Wow.
the population is under 25.
Oh,
Niger
that
has
is
the
fucked
lowest
up.
population median age
Because
at
so many of them have
14.8
died in
years.
warfare.
South Sudan has one of the world's lowest life expectancies. It had the 7th lowest average age in 2021 at
59 years.
59.16 years.
Yeah, imagine
Sudan
that.
is home to a multitude of distinct ethnic groups, each with a rich history steeped in unique customs and traditions. Interestingly,
And that's
despite
probably why
efforts
they've been
by the
war-torn.
northern-based national government of Sudan in the 20th century to Arabize the southern region, a diverse cultural tapestry still flourishes in South Sudan.
Huh.
Over time,
Daily life.
some facets of South Sudan's traditional cultures have experienced changes. Modern advancements, including improved communication, increased social and economic opportunities, the prevalence of a money economy, as well as the impact of prolonged warfare and displacement, have contributed to a general relaxation of social ties, customs, relationships, and traditional modes of organization. However, many elements from the past persist. Oral
Yeah, I mean, it
tradition
didn't look
stands
that
out as a
organized in the last
vital form
video.
of cultural expression among non-literate groups in South Sudan. It serves as a medium for creative storytelling, folklore, historical narratives, and guidance for life events. Rituals and ceremonies are integral to marking life cycle stages, including birth, circumcision, puberty, marriage, and death. What's more, ritual adornments, such as facial scarring and tattooing,
Whoa.
are common practices. Patrilineal descent is observed by most groups, with varying significance among kin groups. Polygyny is practiced in some societies, seen as a way to expand in-law relationships and garner support. While divorce has become more common, historically, a broken marriage was considered shameful, disrupting the intricate network of relationships. Many groups historically maintained some form of class distinction. Now let's delve into the economic landscape of this nation.
Yeah, it's not good.
Looking at the gross domestic product, GDP, based on purchasing power parity, here are the numbers.
Let's give it to me.
In 2015, it was $24.52 billion, and in 2017,
seriously?
it became $20.01 billion. Individual
seems
earnings
high.
Telling us how much each person, on average, makes. We find that it was around $2,100.
Yeah, see, the number that they showed on the other site wasn't anywhere close, unless I read it wrong.
Per person.
$1,600 a person.
In their backyard, their agriculture game is quite
I mean, even still, dude, could you imagine living off $1,600 a person for an entire year? I mean, talk about scraping by, man.
Products like milk, sorghum, veggies, cassava, goat milk, fruit, beef, sesame seeds, sheep milk, and mutton.
I mean, it certainly sounds more plausible than 400.
At $4.652 billion. China takes a substantial share, making up 88% of their export partnerships, with the United Arab Emirates contributing 5%, at least in 2019.
Yeah, China, they're trying a bunch of land grabs, man. Natural resources.
Petroleum, gold, forage crops, lumber, and insect resins. When it comes to bringing things in,
but apparently the Chinese haven't been treated too well in Africa. Apparently they've been subject to a lot of attacks by the locals.
Import partners include the United Arab Emirates,
like they're seen as invaders, I guess.
Kenya at 18%.
I don't know about South Sudan, but
as of 2019.
I heard that about other areas around Africa.
Cars, delivery trucks, packaged medicines, foodstuffs, and clothing and apparel.
They make it look a lot nicer than the last video.
They vary across South Sudan, with ethnic groups contributing to a diverse gastronomic landscape. Staples like millet and sorghum are common sources of sustenance, complemented by an array of fresh fruits, vegetables, and legumes. Dietary preferences differ, with riverine communities relying on fish for protein, while other groups favor meat and milk products from their livestock. Fun fact, peanut paste often accompanies meals. Notable dishes
must have been what that baby was eating out of that packet.
Asida, a sorghum porridge served with meat or vegetables, and
it's like mashed potatoes.
A dish based on mashed fava beans and spices, often enriched with additional ingredients.
Religion.
In South Sudan, approximately 3/5 of the population identify as
Christians,
mainly Roman,
so the majority is Christian,
Anglican, and Presbyterian. The introduction of Christianity to the region traces back to European missionary activities that commenced in the latter part of the 19th century. The remaining portion of the population follows a combination of Islam and traditional animist religions, with the latter outnumbering the former. While animists share certain aspects of religious belief, each ethnic group practices its own indigenous religion. The core of traditional African religions in South Sudan revolves around a high spirit or divinity, typically perceived as a creator, God. The universe is conceptualized in two realms, the earthly or visible and the heavenly or invisible. The heavenly world is believed to be inhabited by spiritual beings serving as intermediaries or messengers of God, with the Nilotic peoples identifying these spirits with their ancestors. Rituals, incorporating music and dance, are dedicated to the supreme deity in these traditional belief systems.
Yep, most people believe in a higher power.
In South Sudan boast a history rich in the production of various handicrafts. The Zande, known for their craftsmanship and artistry, historically wielded superior material culture, including knives, spears, and shields, influencing and spreading their culture to neighboring communities. Basketry, net weaving, pottery, smelting, metalworking, and ivory and wood carving were prevalent among different groups. Today, contemporary Zande are still recognized for their expertise in iron, clay, and wood handicrafts. South Sudanese artists, particularly painters employing acrylic, water, or oil paints, contribute to the modern art scene.
Cultural institutions.
Sudan possesses a deep and extensive cultural history. However, historical marginalization by the northern-based Sudanese government, the prolonged civil conflict, and the priority given to constructing basic infrastructure have limited the allocation of resources to cultural institutions. Notable among these institutions is the Nayakaron Cultural Center in Juba, serving as a venue for numerous cultural and social events. Additionally, the mausoleum of rebel leader John Garang, located in Juba, holds significant cultural importance as a site commemorating historical events. South Sudan is one of 27 nations without a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Really?
However, it does have 3 prospective candidates on the tentative list awaiting nomination.
Give it to me.
These include the Daim Zubir slave route, which bears witness to the ancient slave market and provides visible evidence of 19th century slavery and its pathways. The Sud wetlands are rich in biodiversity, with unique animal assembly and habitats that provide a safe haven for some of the world's most endangered or threatened large mammal and bird species.
Well, that would be your World Heritage Site.
The Bandingilo migratory landscape is critical for maintaining different ecosystems that support a wide range of plant and animal species.
I'd go with number 2.
As you can imagine, linguistic diversity is a hallmark of South Sudan, with numerous languages spoken across the country. English, however, serves as the official language, facilitating communication among the diverse ethnic groups. Local languages are widely spoken in daily life, contributing to the rich cultural mosaic of the nation. As for communal activities such as sanitation is believed to be a shared responsibility, and efforts to promote hygiene and sanitation are underway. In urban areas, there may be varying standards of cleanliness, while rural regions
I'm getting
might adhere to
AI
traditional
vibes
practices.
here. This narrator. Domestic
Sadly,
challenges.
South Sudan grappled with internal challenges, notably escalating ethnic
The
violence,
Civil War.
particularly between the Lu Nuer and Merle peoples in Jonglei State. Cattle
All right.
rustling was a major issue, leading to retaliatory attacks, claiming over 1,500 lives and displacing tens of thousands post-independence.
Wow, over
Rebel
cattle.
Activities from groups in Jonglei and other states, intertwined with ethnic divisions, added to the complexities.
Damn, they're
Sections
strapped.
within the ruling SPLM surfaced, as seen by Kiir's cabinet reform in 2013,
That
which
is a
sidelined
big-ass
political
gun.
adversaries such as Riek Machar and
What was
Pagan
that, 50
Amuma.
cal?
On December 15th, 2013, pro-Kiir and
AKs.
pro-Machar soldiers clashed, prompting claims of a coup attempt. Regional mediation efforts struggled, and ceasefire agreements were routinely breached, aggravating the humanitarian crisis, which left thousands dead and millions displaced. Despite international pressure, peace treaties encountered difficulties, including a disputed shift in the number of states. Human rights breaches continued, with a UN assessment noting possible war crimes or crimes against humanity. Machar eventually returned and was sworn in as first vice president in April 2016, taking a preliminary step toward establishing a temporary unity government. Amid these domestic challenges, South Sudan found some solace in improved relations with Sudan and its admission to the East African community. So, you see, despite its promising start, South Sudan faced numerous challenges in its early years,
quite a rocky start.
including political instability, economic difficulties, and internal conflicts. These challenges have tested the resilience of the South Sudanese people as they work towards building a stable and prosperous nation. Despite the hurdles, there's hope on the horizon. Various peace agreements and international efforts are underway to support South Sudan in its journey towards a brighter future. The resilience and determination of the South Sudanese people are truly inspiring. And there you have it, a glimpse into the world of South Sudan.
There you have
A
it.
country that may be young in age, but is rich in history and potential. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with
Nice, man. Yeah, so that's from Travel Eclipse. I'll leave it in the description. That was posted a year ago, so that was more recent than the last video that we watched with Indigo Traveler. So going into a little bit of some of the details with regard to South Sudan that may or may not have been covered. The total population, 15.5 million people. The median age, according to Global Finance. So how legit Global Finance is, I mean, I'll leave it up to you. I've heard of Global Finance. I mean, I'd find them to be reputable. At least I assume that they are. And the reason I'm mentioning that was because on that video, what did they say? It was 19 years old was the median age. So I guess you could take it one way or another. I'm sure that information is going to vary, like depending on which source that you go with, especially with South Sudan being, I'm sure that their statistics and their census data, it's probably not exactly the most reliable given the situation that they've been in for a while. But according to this, the adult per capita income is $16.89, which is less than what the video had stated, but as you'll take that for what you will. Total GDP at 6.5 billion in 2023, and the GDP inflation and unemployment. Let's see, the inflation is outpacing GDP growth, like many other places around the world. I mean, it's probably going to be hard to find countries in the world where that's not happening, where the inverse is actually occurring. So with, let's see, banking and finance, USD, $1.2 billion as of 2023. The leading exports includes crude petroleum, as well as gold and forage crops, lumber, and insect resins. That's interesting. And then their leading imports, which include cars, delivery trucks, packaged medicines, foodstuffs, and clothing and apparel. And let's see, World Integrated Trade Solution is the source. And let's see, outflows versus inflows in terms of millions. Holy crap, man. 2019, yikes. South Sudan leading companies: Nile Commercial Bank, Ivory Bank, Nile Petroleum, and Akon Refinery Company. See, South Sudan Electricity, that's utilities, obviously, Green Horizon, consumer staples, and food products. So there you have it as far as some of the basic info that Global Finance has on it. So when you try to convert, if you're American, as I am, and I don't know, like, let's say the median per person, I know it's probably higher than 50,000, but I'm just going to go with an even 50,000, and let's see what that converts to. So that would be 6,513,000 SSP, which is South Sudanese pound. So, I mean, we'll do like 1,000. That's 130,260. So I thought I'd throw that out here. So they've got a conversion table here. So 1,000 South Sudanese pound would convert to $7.68 technically, if you round it up. So you know, it takes a lot to get to $1 US. So I guess if I mean, yeah, just $1 is 130. So anyway, that's the conversion. I'll leave that down there in the description if for whatever reason you find yourself wanting to look into this and do your own math. So the cost of living in South Sudan, currency, USD. You can set this to any currency you want. You can set it to Euro. You can set it to USD. I'll just stick to USD because that's what I know best. So, yeah, so if you were to eat a meal at an inexpensive restaurant, it would cost you about $5 USD, which to me sounds pretty high. But, I mean, the numbers are the numbers. And just scrolling down here real quick, just to let you know that this country had 0 entries over the past 12 months by 0 different contributors. So this information, it's not very reliable. And there's a lot of question marks here where there is no data entry over any span of time, because I'm sure there's not a whole lot of people in South Sudan who not only have access to the internet, but are aware of this website, numbeo.com, where you can plug in this information. But anyway, there's some other links down here, which I'll try to click on one of them. I don't think it's going to be very reliable, as I don't think really any of this is, but I figured I would just show it. So I'm assuming that it's probably a lot less than 50 cents for a water bottle. The last video that I did was in Bangladesh, and I believe that a 20-ounce bottle, which I know isn't as much as a 1.5 liter bottle, but a 20-ounce bottle there was like 16 or 17 cents. And Bangladesh, it's that their economy is significantly stronger than it is in South Sudan. So gas, $5.68 a gallon, if that's accurate. Internet, that sounds absolutely crazy. But with, I'm sure, electricity being widely unavailable, I'm sure the internet, you know, if you were to get full 24/7 internet connectivity, I'm sure it will cost you a lot. I mean, you're probably way better off just getting Starlink at this point. So average monthly salary after tax, I mean, that seems more realistic now than the one that I clicked on earlier showing like less than 500. But per capita, maybe I'm reading that wrong. But anyway, about $2,000 a year. That would be after tax. And so over here, I've got just one article. It's recent. It came out May 29th. So as of this recording, this is 2 days ago. And this is from Radio Tamazouj. radiotamazouge.org, Independent News Crossing Borders. I'm sure I'm butchering that. So the South Sudan peace deal stagnates amid rising violence, UN warns. So again, this is just a couple days ago. So the conflict, it seems to be ramping back up again. There's still a lot of turmoil happening, it appears. So the implementation of South Sudan's revitalized peace agreement remains stalled despite its critical role in steering the country toward elections, a senior United Nations official said on Thursday, as security and humanitarian conditions worsen. Guang Kong, the acting head of the UN mission in South Sudan, warned of a deteriorating security situation marked by military clashes and intercommunal violence, while millions face severe hunger amid funding shortfalls. Speaking at an event marking the International Day of UN Peacekeepers, Kong urged warring factions to resolve tensions through dialogue and fully implement the 2018 peace deal that ended a 5-year civil war. I'm sure they're constantly saying, like, let's just sit down, let's hash it out, let's figure out if we can solve our differences. So anyway, he goes on to say, despite its criticality in progressing the transition toward peaceful, free, fair, and credible elections, the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement continues to stagnate. The UN has repeatedly called for South Sudan's leaders to expedite the agreement, which includes forming a unified army and preparing for polls now delayed to late 2026. Good grief. But political disputes and sporadic violence and economic instability have hampered progress. Kong noted that 9.3 million people, which is over 70% of the population, see, I thought it was 60. It's over 70% of the population, it needs aid. But funding cuts have crippled relief efforts. Meanwhile, UN peacekeepers face increasing risks, including attacks. But despite the challenges, Kong said UNMISS continues to support election preparations, mediate local conflicts, and rebuild infrastructure, including roads and flood defenses. But Kong stressed that unhindered access to conflict hotspots is essential. So there you have it. It's ongoing, the conflict. There's apparently no resolution in sight. They're trying to get elections off the ground. Hopefully that might try to unify the country a little better. And finally, on the list of poorest countries in 2024, which is from GF Mag, that is Global Finance Mag, which is where I got this information from that I shared a little bit ago, which I'll link all this. And number one happens to be South Sudan. And I'll go ahead and read this. Current international dollars, 455. It's what they say. The very poorest of the world's poorest countries, South Sudan has been racked by violence since its creation in 2011. It's rich in oil reserves. The landlocked state of roughly 15 million represents a textbook example of the resource curse, whereby abundance fosters political and social divisions, inequality, corruption, and warfare. The majority of the population is employed in traditional agriculture, although violence and extreme climate events often prevent farmers from planting or harvesting crops. This year, an estimated 9 million people, over 60% of South Sudan's population, will be in need of humanitarian assistance. So essentially, they won't be able to survive on their own. And I'll just wrap up with one more thing, because they barely touched on the climate, so I figured I would give a little bit more information on that. And I'll wrap up with one last quick thing here on Wikipedia. So the South Sudan has a tropical climate characterized by a rainy season of high humidity and large amounts of rainfall, followed by a drier season. The temperature on average is always high, with July being the coolest month, with average temperatures falling between 68 and 86 degrees Fahrenheit, and March being the warmest month, with average temperatures ranging from 73 to 98% Fahrenheit. The most rainfall is seen between May and October, but the rainy season can commence in April and extend until November. On average, May is the wettest month. The season is influenced by the annual shift of the intertropical zone and the shift to southerly and southwesterly winds, leading to slightly lower temperatures, higher humidity, and more cloud coverage. One study has shown that climate change is expected to increase rainfall rates over South Sudan, but there is greater uncertainty about whether the number of rainy days will increase or decrease. And I mentioned that climate change, they cannot give it a single win. They can't give climate change a single win. More rain would most likely mean more days of rain. That's just a note to self that I figured I'd just throw out there. But I mean, whenever it comes to climate change, they can never, ever give it a single win of climate change being in any way a good thing for anybody in any way, shape, or form. Even though as the earth warms, hurricane development will subside. There'll be fewer, not more. There'll be fewer hurricanes if the earth warms. And as the earth warms, that means that I can't remember the name of that, but that northern zone where plants and crops and, food essentially can actually grow. I mean, that will continue to protrude gradually further north, which will give us more of the earth to be able to grow crops. And, life, it thrives in warmth. Life dies in cold. So it's better off. I mean, look, the earth, it goes through cycles, always has, always will. There's always going to be warming periods and cooling periods. But life on Earth is way better off in a period of warming than a period of cooling. Because during an ice age, everything ends up dying. At least everything that's touched by the permafrost. So anyway, I know, tangent, sorry, my bad. But I will wrap this up with a little bit of info here on their government. So the now defunct Southern Sudan Legislative Assembly ratified a transitional constitution shortly before independence on July 9th of 2011. The constitution was signed by the president of South Sudan, Salva Kiir Mayardit, on Independence Day, and thereby came into force. It is now the supreme law of the land, superseding the interim constitution of 2005. So I figured I'd wrap it up with that. And finally, on May 8th of 2021, South Sudan President Salva Kiir announced a dissolution of parliament as part of a 2018 peace deal to set up a new legislative body that will number 550 lawmakers. According to 2023 VDIM democracy indices, South Sudan is third lowest ranked electoral democracy in Africa. So there you have it. That is the South Sudan for you. That is basically all I got with regard to South Sudan. You can read a ton of information on there through Wikipedia, as you can with basically any country on Earth for that matter. And that's basically all I got. So thanks for watching, and see you later.